Okay, out here at the range today with the Kalashnikov KS12. It is new to me. It doesn't look like it was used very much. I won this through an auction on Rock Island auctions. Basically, I got it for $550, and then after fees and whatnot, shipping, it was about $750. They run for $1,000, something kind of like that, $950, $1,000. So I think I did pretty well. It came with the nice red box. It came with an instruction manual written by somebody who is indeed an English speaker, which is very handy. I had a Lynx 12 a couple of years ago that was made in China, and its manual was terrible. But you know, this one was actually written by an English speaker, so that's good. Came with a Kalashnikov 5-round magazine. It came with an 8-round SMG magazine, and then I have a Pro Mag 12-round drum magazine. The Lynx 12 did really well with Winchester White box, so I have 25 rounds of Winchester White box loaded up. So we'll see if it does the Winchester White box. The fit and finish on this is much nicer than the Lynx, but the Lynx was also $400. The Kalashnikov is made in America, and that's actually a really handy thing if you want to do modifications, because then you don't have to worry about the 922R stuff. So that's definitely a plus. I'm looking for the possibility of doing an SBS shotgun, so possibly, if I like this gun enough, getting the barrel cut down after getting my tax stamp and all that to, you know, just make it a really handy home defense gun, particularly with if the 12-round drum mag works out well, which Pro Mag, not the greatest. The Lynx had issues with its own extended magazine. The Lynx 5-round magazine was great. Their 10-round magazine, made by the same company that makes the gun, was absolute garbage. I have a video on that. And then the Pro Mag was kind of weird, fading in and out of the Lynx. You had to do it just right. It snaps in and out of place on this Kalashnikov. Hopefully everything will go well. Like I said, the fit and finish is better. The trigger says Tapco on it. I'm not sure if that's an aftermarket or if that's just the way it comes. The fore-end is definitely a much nicer fore-end than you get with the Lynx. The Lynx has a 4-position gas system. This one has a 2. And it says there's a number 1 and a number 2 carved into it. The number 1 is for the heavier loads. The number 2 is for the lighter loads. For the loads, I got the Winchester White box, obviously. Got some of the cheaper Winchester black box, number 9 shot. Also picked up some Estate. This tends to be pretty cheap. And then some Federal. This is the 7.5 shot here. And then I have 4 shot, so a little bit heavier. And then I do have a couple of boxes of higher power stuff. The Federal, it's their rifled slug, 2 3/4 inch, and then a Winchester 3-inch double-aught buck. The manual says specifically that the gun is rated for 2 3/4 and 3-inch shells, and that Magnum in both. So that was something the Lynx didn't really talk about. Like with the Lynx, you do have to have the bolt back in order to feed in the magazine. If you just try to feed in the magazine with the bolt forward, it just doesn't want to go. I mean, you might be able to fight it in, but why? You do have your little cutout here on the safety handle, so you can just do it that way. It locks in very nicely. So we will see with the 5-round magazine if it feeds the Winchester White box, which to me Winchester White is kind of the real test, just because so many semi-auto shotguns have trouble with the Winchester White box. And I'm just shooting into the burn just for function here. Okay, no hold open. And it fed all 5 through the Kalashnikov 5-round magazine. I kind of wonder if maybe the reason the people who sold the gun did it because maybe the 8-round magazine doesn't work so well, but I guess we'll find out. It does look a little weird when you're putting the magazine in. It looks a little weird right here. It's not, this line is not parallel with the receiver, so it looks a little strange, but coming that way just a little bit, you can see that it puts the shell very close to where it needs to be to feed in, and so that may be helping. So even though it doesn't look quite right here, it looks very good there. So let's see how the 8-round SMG magazine does. And again, no trouble with the Winchester White box, which is fantastic. You do still see that in Wally World. I don't think I've seen the 100-round boxes they used to have, but, you know, still. It's feeding the Winchester White, which, if it can do that, semi-auto shotgun-wise, that's fantastic. If you watch the Lynx video and watch me have to fight to get this thing in and out, you know, here it just kind of works. So there is a little bit of a rattle, so we'll see if that comes into play. I don't remember if it had that same issue, that same little looseness when I had the Lynx. Recoil on this seems to be a little bit more than what I remember with the Lynx. You know, that could just be me. It could be the butt pad. You know, and this is just with the number 8 shot. That is an entire box of Winchester White fed through 3 different magazines, and it seemed to be fine with all of them. You know, as far as the ammunition goes, the magazines themselves all seem to be working just the way they need to be. Sorry, there's a little drum thing in here I've got to get pushed down in order to start the next round in. Makes it quite a bit easier to load it. I am being aware to make sure that as I'm loading these, the next one goes in like that, so instead of like that, so that way it doesn't try to trap it. Shouldn't be a problem, but you know, when you're dealing with something that's not necessarily made for a magazine like this, you know, 12 gauge rounds were not made with this in mind. All right, so I put 12 rounds of Estate in the drum. We'll put 5 rounds of, this is the number 7.5 shot of the Federal. We'll put this in the KSG, or I'm sorry, the KSG, the KS12 mag, the original Kalashnikov mag. And it is kind of nice to have something made in America, even though it's obviously a Russian origin. I'm assuming that they made this in America just to get around import bans. Even before the whole stuff in the Ukraine, there was import ban on stuff made in Russia. So maybe that's why they just set up shop here in the United States. I want to say it's like Florida or somewhere. But anyway, though, so it is made here in the States, and it is a much nicer looking gun than the Lynx. But again, even at the price I got it, we're talking double the price of what the Lynx cost. So for just a cheap range toy, you know, a Lynx may be just what you need. As far as anything else, well, you may want to consider something a little nicer. Okay, that was 5 rounds of the Winchester Black without any trouble. Here's 5 rounds of the Estate Super Competition Load 7.5. Oh, wait. Okay, no problem there. This is 5 rounds 7.5 shot. So again, you know, some of the cheaper stuff. Okay, so it fed all of the cheap stuff without any trouble. Let's put in some 4. This is the number 4 shot. The Federals 12 gauge running at, it says 1,220 feet per second, something kind of like that. The little 12 round drum here has a really good balance to it. You know, you start getting into the stick mags. I did look at the Surefire 10 round stick mag, which actually would have been cheaper than this, but it would not lock into this gun very well. It's just a little bit off. And on the Surefire, it does say, you know, this is for Saiga only. And while this is a Saiga pattern, it's not a Saiga. So I would have preferred the Surefire name to the Pro Mag name, but you know, so far the Pro Mag's doing the job. And also the Pro Mag, you know, sits where it does. The 10 round probably came out to about where my hand is, you know, so it was a really long magazine for 2 less rounds. This has a great balance to it. It's not as big and bulky as the huge 20 round drums. So, you know, the 12 round may be just the way to go with this. All right, so this is the number 4 shot. I said 4 and started thinking 4 instead of firing 5 and finishing. All right, so see how this is feeling. That's a little warm. That's warmer. So that is the cheap ammunition. I'm going to see if I can switch our gas over to the 1. And for changing the gas, there's a little plunger that you have to push right here. Thanks for taking up residence on my arm fly. So you got to push the plunger and then use something like a, they say a screwdriver, but a quarter seems to work perfect. Switch it from 1 to 2 or 2 to 1. You're probably mostly going to keep it on 2, but putting it in the 1 position is what's recommended for using the higher powers. And so we got the gas system set in, and we will do the, there it is, Federal 2 3/4 inch Magnum rifled slug hollow point, 1 1/4 ounce. And these are obviously a lot more expensive, but this is more your home defense type stuff. You know, not stuff that you'd be plinking with on the range every day. And I'm sure your shoulder would thank you for not plinking with it on the range every day. I'm just trying to ensure that the hulls don't catch each other. And as I'm loading, sometimes the little hulls or the rim is catching the brass of the one below it. So not quite as smooth as loading like a pistol magazine. All right, so this should have a little more oomph to it. Oh yeah. Quite a bit more oomph. I thought I fired 5. Did I fire 4? So we did have a malfunction there. It didn't eject that last one, which is kind of strange because it actually put it back on top of the magazine. So it was just kind of sitting like that, the empty hull. So, don't know what to tell you on that one. It's the first malfunction, and it came with the rifled slug, which on the box there it says yes, this is for smooth bores. So they have some that are apparently not made for smooth bores. So yeah, these load in a little bit easier just because of the little base is a little bit longer than the other ones. So you can kind of see the difference there. All right, and these are the 3-inch. It fed everything. It fed the cheap stuff. It fed the more lively stuff. Did 3-inch, did 2 3/4. The only malfunction I had was on the last round of the Federal slug. It just didn't eject the hull for some reason. But when you took the magazine out, it would have fallen out anyway. So that wouldn't have stopped your operation of the gun. Shooting impressions. Shoots very well. I think it has a little more recoil than the Lynx does. Maybe this pad here is a little bit thinner. Fit and finish, though, is good. If you're looking for a Saiga alternative, you might consider the Kalashnikov KS12.